Hello friends! Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we will discuss how wild was the Wild West. Anyone who has ever seen a Western film is well aware of how wild life was at the time. Damsels in distress were chained to railways, cowboys' cattle were stolen, and the sheriff was sometimes a slacker who showed little interest in upholding the tiny amount of law that did exist. In other words, every time you went to the saloon, you ran the possibility of being engaged in a gunfight. At least, that is how the film industry sees it. What do historians believe, though? In this video, we'll try to answer that question, but before that, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button for more informational content. Although the West wasn't as violent as it is frequently depicted in popular culture, some regions did have it in actuality, according to the experts. From Rocky Mountain states like Montana, all the way down to Texas, and then across to the West Coast, the Wild West covered a large region. In terms of time, we're talking about the 1850s or before the Civil War, up to 1900. Cattle may freely graze wherever during the time while the ranges were open. It's important to note that at the time, much of this enormous area of land was not yet a state. Therefore, there was little federal authority. Our collective perception of the Wild West as a rowdy and violent place to live is partially a result of the absence of a centralized government. The battle amongst the Indian tribes is shown as almost being in a state of anarchy. Then the Europeans show in and join in. While there were confrontations deserving of John Wayne's representations, for example, 3 people perished in the 1881 gunfight at the Oak Corral in Arizona Territory. There were also times of tranquility that lasted long enough for the settlers to improvise their way through society's laws. Hollywood depicts everyone fighting over land and water rights. But our research demonstrates that, in fact, people were aware of the dangers of fighting and sought out peaceful means of settling their differences. For instance, large tracts of land were frequently divided up and associations were formed by cattle owners to record and distribute range rights. Property rights were sufficiently safe, and a market existed for them. The approach was mostly effective, unless, of course, you belonged to an Indian tribe. The area under American Indian rule gradually decreased throughout this time, and so did their freedoms. The Indian Appropriations Act, approved by Congress in 1851, allowed for the establishment of the first reservations, when American Indians were transported against their will and prohibited from leaving without permission. There is data to support the claim that the Wild West was not some kind of white settlers' small government utopia. In a 2017 study published in the Journal of the European Economic Association, Matthew Coutinier, a political economist at the University of Lyon, examined the criminal statistics of frontier in the 1800s. Coutinier and his colleagues discovered that the Wild West had clearly more violent areas than the eastern states, particularly in areas where gold and other minerals were found. Assault and murder, for instance, were commonplace. In other words, people were more likely to reach a nonviolent agreement when the resource in question was abundant, such as land for cattle grazing. However, if the resource was scarcer and more expensive, like a precious metal, people were more likely to use violence, or worse, to gain their desired results. We're talking about a 3 to 4% increase in crime in counties with minerals but no federal control compared to those with no minerals and which were incorporated into the United States, and that's a pretty sizable jump. So, how wild was the Wild West? Probably a lot tamer than you imagined, but at times, it was certainly no picnic. What do you think of the Wild West? Was it really wild, or was it tamer? Please let us know in the comments section. Before leaving, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never missed any video from us. Thanks for watching Roots.